Hello networkers, and welcome back to another episode of As the Network Engineer. And in this episode, I'm going to answer one of your questions, and this comes from Plant-Based Brother. And he really had three questions in here, but the question that I want to talk about in this episode is, if you had to start over now in your career as a network engineer, would I take the same route again? That's a very good question, and I actually saw that some time ago, and I really thought about that. So I want to go ahead and share my experiences and my opinions about if I started over again right now in 2017 as a network engineer, what would I do? Okay, so this is a very tough one for me to really answer, or really think about really, because the short answer is I would not start this all over again. Okay, and more because of the time that I invested in this particular profession. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of money, lack of sleep, patience, drive. All of that is really, really big parts. I don't want to live back all the maintenance windows that I did or trying to pay my dues. Preparing for my CCIE, for example. I would never want to do that again. It was very expensive. Buying equipment was also very expensive. Looking for jobs, was very, very of a painful process. Because I would just look basically constantly all the time looking for the best opportunities, things like that. Getting prepared for the interviews. A lot of work involved, a lot of energy involved. So it's really hard to ask someone who's been doing this for 20 years, what would you do if you started over right now? I can't answer that because I would never do it again. So I can only assume that maybe a Michael Tomatis 20 years ago basically found a time machine, and I still have that love and that drive for networking. Now, I love networking today, but I'm not going to be putting in the same work that I did the last 20 years. I would never repeat that again. No. So let's assume that I got into a time machine and I came here 2017. Now, I love networking. I'm in a new world order. What do I do now? So the very first thing that I actually would do is I would do my research to figure out what is in demand in the networking field. So basically we'll go to Google and kind of figure out top trends, top technologies, top solutions in the networking field, top companies that do particular network solutions and technologies, top network products, things like that. And this is one of the great things about today's kind of generation. Because when I was a network engineer or starting out, those resources were not available to me. So yes, there was Google back then, but it had nothing in terms of the resources and the information that I could actually look at to know what is hot and what is in demand. There wasn't YouTube back then, where you can actually watch videos on YouTube, watch mentoring type videos like my channel, for example. None of that existed. In terms of like certification, boot camps and video classes, none of that existed. So I'm trying to figure out how in the hell I even got to this particular point, because the resources back then just were not there. It's like we had to do it the old-fashioned way, basically find some books, get the equipment off of eBay, and then basically do the hard way to really rough it through, that sort of thing. But that's all right. Michael Tomatis from the past is here now. So I will actually do my research to see what is in demand. And I would determine three particular things were really hot right now in the networking field. I would determine one, there is data center technologies. The second is with security. And the third is more with programming or development. Those would be the actual hot three things that are in demand with networking. Then I will basically figure out, well, what about top companies? And I will, of course, figure out that Cisco is still a top company when it comes to networking technologies with routers and switches. They're a very big player in that. They're very big back then, but they're also still very big now. They're just evolved very differently. But also, Palo Alto Networks is also a very strong company when it comes to network security. Security is more important now than it was back then. Because back then, there wasn't social media. There wasn't mobile devices back then. There wasn't Facebook or Twitter or things like that. It was basically just a simple web page with maybe RSS feeds, little things like that. Don't want to bore you with my dinosaur stories. But Cisco, Palo Alto Networks, I will basically figure out that Python programming is pretty important as an IT person, as a network engineer. So we'll keep all of those factors in mind, that if I want to be very successful in this field, I should be very savvy with Cisco, Palo Alto Networks, or basically data center and security, and having some programming experience. Then from there, number 2 would be my entry, or basically getting into the IT field, because networking and security and all of that, that's in IT. So I can't get there until I actually make an entry into that particular profession overall. And basically getting into working with computers, servers, or basically with technical support is how you get there. So I'll find maybe jobs as a technical support specialist, a computer technician. And basically, if I'm a computer technician, then I will eventually maybe become a server administrator that works on servers, of installing them and supporting them. And of course, I will learn that I don't like that, but it's at least giving me the experience and the knowledge that I am in the IT field so that I can eventually become a network engineer. You got to have an entry point, and that's usually how you do it. And then, of course, I will also be focused on building my resume, learning how to build a very good, effective resume at my current level. And in today's society, you got a lot of great resources available. So I actually would figure out what is a good resume, what should I include or not include, what stands out, things like that. And with that information, I would then go ahead and start looking for jobs. And I will be aggressively looking for jobs and submitting my resume that I completed with perfection to a lot of different job sites. So again, doing your research. So what I can do is I can actually go ahead and go to my web browser, and let's go to google.com. And from there, I can go ahead and do a very simple search, and I can say something like, find me the best job sites, things like that. Now, for me, a long time ago, it was basically Dice and Monster.com, which are still here, fantastic. But there are many of them here. So I will basically go through each of these with my resume. Like one of the top ones is Indeed.com. And basically from there, I can go ahead and do any kind of search that I'm looking for computer technician, for server administrator, technical support, things like that. And also what's important, okay, which I probably should say initially as part of your research, is about location. Where you live makes a very big difference in terms of what opportunities are available. So here for Indeed, I just clicked on this random site here. I can say something like computer technician. Well, there it is. To give me a little fill in there. And basically, I don't live in West Sacramento, but close enough. That's fine. But let's say San Jose. San Jose has a lot of IT opportunities there. So select that, and basically from there, let's just do a search for that and see what comes up. So I'm not a big fan of this particular format, but basically from there, I can actually look based on location, companies, job types, even a salary range. But for me, I want to get into the IT field. So from there, I will basically look for each of these particular positions there. Like this one, where is it? I saw one, IT help desk technician. And really, I'd be looking at all of this and looking at what are some of the requirements. Okay, so I see some of the responsibilities. That's great. But let's go down a little bit here. I see things like, have experience with these things here. Well, fantastic. So you told me exactly what I need to be focused on for learning. So I need to make sure I know, of course, Windows, there's Mac, know about TCP, all this stuff that I can actually get and learn from books. But also I see certifications. I'll talk about that in my next part. I'm kind of jumping ahead there. But the point is I will look at all of these job offerings. And as you can tell, basically anyone can kind of actually apply for a lot of this stuff. The requirements for that is not that much. Remember, we're getting our foot into the door in terms of the IT door. So that is one of the things that I would do. I will look at all the opportunities based on where I live. And with my resume, I will be submitting my resume everywhere for some of these kind of opportunities. The next thing that I would do, basically a continuation of looking for jobs and building my resume, is I want to figure out what are the top certifications that I should be really looking at and trying to get certified that will basically complement my resume and get me better chances of getting employed, even at an entry level. Okay. And one of those you saw was, hey, if you have your CCENT, that's a plus. Perfect, right? So I, of course, determined that right now that the top certifications, focusing in on like maybe with data center, with security, things like that, I would determine that Cisco is definitely a good player to still be certified in. So I would want to go ahead and get my CCNA. That, of course, is a lot higher than the CCENT, even trying to get my CCNP. And with security, let me try to get the Palo Alto Network certification. That also looks very, very nice. I have Cisco and Palo Alto Networks. That gives me good exposure with networking and with security. So I will go ahead and put all that into my resume. Well, actually, first, I want to, of course, study, get certified, and, of course, go ahead and put that on my resume. Now, of course, during the process of getting certified, I want to make sure I can do labs. So I want to make sure I can configure Cisco routers and switches and Palo Alto Network firewalls and things like that. And I also would probably get some exposure to very basic programming. Nothing advanced, I'm just starting out, right? So, but I want to get some kind of exposure to programming at some level with Python programming, and that will also look very nice on the resume. Okay, and after some time of basically working as a computer technician, then eventually probably being a server administrator, doing technical support, things like that, I can now look at how do I now do my entry of getting into the networking field and doing more networking related stuff. Now, a lot of jobs today, like computer technicians or server stuff, you will be doing a little bit of networking. We saw that for one of these job listings that I just randomly selected here. Like, see, Cisco Systems is on there. CCNT is a plus. So that's fantastic. That means in some of these environments, I will be exposed to networking. But I want to get into, that particular field as an actual profession of being a network engineer. So, of course, I will be looking at, of course, again, more with technical support, but more centric around networking. So again, I could go ahead and use the same job websites and see what comes up. Who knows? Maybe something comes up, maybe something does not. But location is a big deal. So I can say something like network technical support. Let's do that. Let's do that one here. We got a lot of different options there, as you can tell. But I'll just pick on that, for example, and say search for that. And I can see different options here. Or another possibility is actually going to the main website for some of these top companies that we researched initially. And this is really good because we know that we saw Cisco as a potential option and Palo Alto Networks or any other top company that is the leader in data center security and things like that. So here we're at Cisco.com. So let's see what career opportunities exist here at Cisco. So in any kind of big major website or company website, they're going to really just promote more about their products and their services. So if you want to look at like career or like job opportunities, I like to go to the very bottom of the main page, and there's always a section there like for careers. And right here, we do see a section for careers. So let's go to search jobs. Okay, and this will show basically the following. So we can actually type in particular keywords of jobs that interest us, like network engineer, or just the word network, or technical support probably, a country, state, job type, and area of interest. So if you're starting out, like for us so far, I have computer experience, I have server experience, I have my CCNA and some exposure with programming. then basically just leave the keywords blank here. We want to see all potential opportunities here. Now, country and state is important, so I'm going to put down United States because that's where I currently live. United States. And for state, I am in California. Now, Cisco is actually based in California. They do have other locations, but they started in California, so yeah, that's really a good advantage for me. For job type, these are some of the options here, but we want to view everything that is possible, whether it's an internship, management, anything. Let's just see what's possible for us to apply for. And for area of interest, this is very kind of like what kind of potential opportunities we want to look for. Now, I would probably recommend looking through everything that they actually have and kind of get an idea of what you could qualify for or not qualify for. Because if you get your foot into the door, that could potentially lead to you moving on to different departments and eventually doing what you're doing. So that's something you can consider. So for us starting out, what makes more sense is something like maybe information technology or IT. Professional services is probably a stretch because that's more of a senior or advanced type of a IT position. But we see something called technical support. Let's go ahead and go there and see what kind of jobs exist for technical support, basically where we live in our current location. So let's do a search. Okay, and we have only 4 results. Now keep in mind about something though. You want to make sure that you want to check these type of sites on a regular basis. Just don't look one time, then you're done. Because these job listings do get posted and changed pretty often. So right now, at this current date and time, this is what's currently available based on my location. So I see like there's 2 technical support positions, there's 2 in San Jose, and there's 2 on the East Coast in North Carolina. So let's view customer support engineer LAN switching. Let's see if that is a promising position that we could eventually be our next step. So let's go there and just see the details of that. Okay, and I'm probably confident this is basically part of the TAC, the Cisco TAC. That's their technical support center, and yes, it is Technical Assistance Center. I was part of the TAC years ago, back in 1998. But so this is definitely doing technical support. That's so far so good. And basically we get an idea basically what is required, but more specifically, what is the minimal qualifications to even attempt to apply for this position. So the first one here says that you must have a bachelor's degree or a 4 years related experience. This is actually very interesting because I'm assuming that at this point, now I didn't make this kind of disclaimer, but so for me, I did go to college. So once I was done with high school, I went to college. I was finished in 4 years, and it was in a technical degree, not computer or networking related, but this does count. It says you must, basically have a bachelor's degree, and I do have a bachelor's degree, a bachelor's in science. So I do qualify at a minimum for this. And actually, when I did apply for Cisco, I was almost done with my college degree. Other qualification basically means I need to have knowledge of layer 2, layer 3. Now it says working knowledge, so that's a little tricky because if you're starting out, especially with computers or servers, you're probably not going to be dealing with multicast or QoS or VLANs, especially VSS. That is definitely really hardcore networking. So some of this could be very misleading, but either way, I could still potentially apply for this, regardless if VSS is on here or multicast or things like that. I see things like experience with troubleshooting network and application performance issues. So yeah, that's very possible because when you're working on computers and servers, things like that, we do troubleshoot performance issues. So that could definitely kind of count as a potential way for us to qualify us. And of course, the ability to communicate effectively both verbally and in writing. I mean, good verbal and writing skills, that's very, very important. That, of course, makes sense because with attack, customers are calling you and you're talking to them over the phone. So that is extremely important. So I would say, I do qualify for a lot of these components. Probably not all of it 100%, but at some percentage, I do qualify for it. And I can see basically desired skills. So I can say, hey, I do have some exposure to Python, so that could be a plus on my part. Now, like hands-on experience with these kind of switches, and of course with Cisco Ceph or Cisco Express Forwarding, these are more advanced. I don't really view this as something that you would do starting out. And also, I see something here about certifications. It says CCIE and CCNP. So it could mean that they're looking for a range of people, whether they're senior level, mid level, or whatever, to basically be a customer support engineer. So it could be a good fit, it may not. But regardless of that, a lot of it does fit. So I could just go ahead and apply for that regardless. And basically from there, I think the other one was, let's go back and just confirm that. I think it was like a customer support analyst or something like that. So we can actually look there for, again, the qualifications. We can look there, customer operations analyst. And again, we can actually look and get the details of that particular position, of what is required, and basically apply from there. So again, you want to go back here. Oh, see, here it says CCNA or equivalent. And that is for desire. So we could potentially apply for that job, right? You get the idea. Let's actually go to PaloAltoNetworks.com, because that was another top company that we could look at for one to get our foot into the door and do more networking and security. So here, again, I'll go down to the very bottom and look for something about careers, and there it is. So let's go there. And wait for this to load up. And then here, we're going to go ahead and select the region where we are. We are in North America, so I'm going to select that. And it's going to show basically a list of all job opportunities. And basically, here we are. So we have accounting and finance. Of course, that doesn't apply to us. There's customer support. So, that's possible. But it says account manager. That's not really what we want to do. There's engineering, but a lot of it seems more programming based and cloud based. And if you're starting out, that's not a good fit. So let's go down, and there's information technology. So there's desktop support specialist. So maybe we could actually just apply to Palo Alto Networks. We have computer experience. Let's apply there. I have my Palo Alto Network certification. So it could be very promising that, once again, if I have my foot in the door, we could probably easily just apply for jobs, for other opportunities within Palo Alto Networks, like as a network engineer that we see here, or as a cloud kind of a professional, that sort of thing. And we see sales, there's internships, that doesn't really apply to us. There's marketing, advertisement, you get the idea. But basically, we would just want to go to these top sites and basically apply here as well for potential opportunities. And then from there, that's it. You continue and you now officially apply for whatever opportunity that you want as a network engineer, security engineer, data center engineer, even as a developer, if that interests you. Because one of those things about the top technologies like data center, security, and programming, you need to figure out which one of those you want to really be a master at and kind of go down that particular path. But that would typically happen when you have exposure to those things so that you know what you want to specialize in. But also, if you're working at Cisco or Palo Alto Network, opportunities will very likely arise within the environment, but you want to kind of look for that. So if there's like job openings, you want to apply for that. And that's basically what I have done in different environments. Is when things opened up, I went ahead and I applied for it. And of course, you want to make sure that you keep your current skills updated, and of course, keep learning new skills and keep getting certified where it's more applicable and things like that. So that is the actual approach that I would do. And to answer basically the original question, that is the exact approach that I did, relevant to the resources that I had at the time. Is that I first got into the IT field. So I did whatever I needed to do to get there. And I did. I started working with desktop computers. Fantastic. And then once I had good exposure there, then I went ahead and started working more with servers. But me, I was a go-getter. So like I was in these particular environments working on desktops, and I would jump in and do a little bit of servers. I did that because I wanted that kind of exposure of experience. And then basically from there, I got into technical support, which basically led to network engineering. So basically what I just provided is really what I did. Now, in terms of job websites, dice.com and monster.com. That was it for me back then. So you got a lot of great resources that you can actually look at now. And we're done with this episode. So if you have any questions about being a network engineer, please post those questions below in the comments and they will come up in the future episode on this channel. So thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and support us at rodhub.net. We got a lot of great training that we release, and pretty soon will be our very exciting Python programming for network engineering. I'm very excited about it. It's still a work in progress. We're getting close, and you'll get more details when they come up. But until next time, keep networking.